Pro-China party wins Maldives election in landslide. Massive river flooding expected in China's Guangdong. U.S. and Philippine forces launch combat drills in South China Sea. U.S. journalist held hostage in Lebanon for years dies at 76. Sri Lanka. 7 killed as Motorsports race car hits crowd. Nigerian chess champion breaking marathon record.
Hello, I'm Wei Li. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It is Tuesday, April 23rd, and here are your top stories. Maldives voters handed President Mohamed Muisso's party a landslide win in parliamentary elections. Media said Monday, an outcome set to shift the Indian Ocean archipelago closer to China and away from traditional partner India. Muisso's People's National Congress won 65 out of the 93 seats up for grabs on Sunday. Preliminary results from Maldives Election Commission and media projections show.
The main opposition Maldives Democratic Party dwindled to just 12 seats from 65 earlier. Both Beijing and New Delhi have wooed the Maldives as they vie for influence in the Indo-Pacific region. Elected last year, Muissu has pledged to end the country's India First policy, straining ties with New Delhi. His government has asked dozens of Indian military personnel to leave the Maldives, a move critics say could hasten its shift toward China. Muissu's post as president is not affected by Sunday's vote, in which 368 candidates contested for 5-year terms.
Major rivers, waterways, and reservoirs in China's Guangdong province are threatening to unleash dangerous floods, forcing the government on Sunday to enact an emergency response plan to protect more than 127 million people. Calling the situation grim, local weather officials said sections of rivers and tributaries at the Xizang and Beijing River Basin are hitting water levels in a rare spike that only has a 1 in 50 chance of happening in any given year, state broadcaster CCTV News said on Sunday. China's Water Resource Minister issued an emergency advisory, CCTV reported.
Guangdong officials urged departments in all localities and municipalities to begin emergency planning to avert natural disasters and promptly disperse disaster relief funds and materials to ensure affected people have food, clothing, water, and somewhere to stay. The province, a major exporter and one of China's main commercial and trading centers, has seen major downpours and strong winds for several days, in a weather pattern which has also affected other parts of China. A 12-hour spell of heavy rain, starting from 8 p.m. Saturday, battered the central and northern parts of the province, including the cities of Zhaoqing, Shaogan, Qingyuan, and Zhongmen, where rescue workers have been dispatched. More than 45,000 people have been evacuated in Qingyuan, and some power facilities in Zhaoqing were damaged, cutting power to some places. Overall, in Guangdong, 1.16 million households lost power due to the heavy rains.
American and Filipino forces launched their largest combat exercises in years Monday, in a show of allied firepower near the disputed South China Sea that has alarmed Beijing. The annual exercises by the longtime treaty ally will run until May 10th and involve more than 16,000 of their military personnel, along with more than 250 French and Australian forces. While the Philippines military maintain that the trainings are not directed at a particular country, some of their main conflict scenarios are set in or near the disputed South China Sea, where Chinese and Philippine coast guards and accompanying ships have figured in a series of increasing tense territorial face-offs since last year.
In encounters in disputed areas, Chinese Coast Guard vessels have resorting to water cannons, blocking, and other dangerous maneuvers that have caused injuries to Philippine Navy personnel and damaged supply boats. As the disputes between China and the Philippines have escalated, President Joe Biden and his administration has repeatedly warned that the United States is obligated to defend the Philippines, its oldest treaty ally in Asia, if it is attacked. U.S. Marine Lieutenant General William Journey said in the ceremony that the large-scale military exercises will demonstrate that the 1951 Mutual Defense Treaty between the U.S. and the Philippines is no mere piece of paper. Washington lays no claim to the contested waters but has declared that freedom of navigation and overflight and the peaceful resolution of the disputes are in its national interest.
U.S. journalist Terry Anderson, who was held hostage for nearly 7 years during Lebanon's civil war, has died at age 76. Anderson was the chief Middle East correspondent for the Associated Press when he was captured by Islamic militants in 1985, during what became known as the Lebanon hostage crisis. He died at his home in Greenwood Lake, New York on Sunday, his daughter said. Sulman Anderson had said he found peace in recent years after the ordeal. He never liked to be called a hero, but that's what everyone persisted in calling him, she said. Louis Riccardi, who ran the Associated Press during Anderson's captivity, was among those who remembered him as a hero.
Anderson was abducted in Beirut on the 16th of March 1985. He had just finished playing tennis when gunmen dragged him into a car and sped away. His sister Peggy Say, who died in 2015, fiercely advocated for the release of her brother and his fellow captives. The majority of the more than 100 held between 1982 and 1992 were from the U.S. and Western Europe, including Church of England envoy Terry Waite was taken hostage by the group holding Anderson when negotiations broke down on the 20th of January 1987. Waite was freed in 1991 after 1,763 days. For much of the time, Waite was kept in solitary confinement, chained to a radiator, beaten and subjected to mock executions. Anderson passed on news of the outside world to Waite during his isolation by tapping on the walls between their cells. Anderson was eventually released in 1991 as the Civil War ended.
7 people have been killed and 21 injured after a race car plunged into spectators at a motor event in Sri Lanka. The crash occurred at the Fox Hill Supercross race on Sunday in Dia Talawa, an army-based town. Among the dead were 4 race officials as well as spectators, including an 8-year-old girl, the army said. Few details have been released about the driver, his condition, and whether he will face charges. But authorities said a full police investigation was underway into the crash on the army-owned track. Dia Talawa in central southern Sri Lanka is a former garrison town, and the military maintains an academy there.
According to witnesses, the crash happened soon after another car had overturned on the track. Officials tried to slow cars down around the scene by waving yellow lights, but as the cars sped past, one red car veered off course and crashed into spectators on the side of the unguarded track. Footage widely shared on social media showed the aftermath of the tragedy, screams in the crowd and people rushing to the scene. 5 people were killed at the scene while 2 later died in hospital. Others remain in a critical condition, officials said. On social media, Sri Lankans have questioned why there weren't greater protections, criticizing the lack of safety barriers on some stretches of the track. The event, run by the Sri Lankan Automobile Sports Association, has operated since 1993, but this was the first race in 5 years due to pandemic restrictions and issues resulting from the country's economic crisis.
Nigerian chess champion and child education advocate Tunda Nyakoya has broke the record for the largest chess marathon after playing for an extraordinary 60 hours non-stop under the bright lights of the New York City's Times Square. The Guinness World Record Organization has not yet confirmed Onakoya's attempt, which can sometimes take weeks. But for many Nigerians, the 29-year-old is already considered something of a national hero. Onakoya is attempting to raise $1 million for a charity to support education for children across Africa. The match drew significant attention in Nigeria and was broadcast across multiple locations in Lagos, the country's largest city, featuring watch parties and digital billboards.
He had aimed to play for 58 hours but continued until hitting the 60-hour mark in the early hours of Saturday morning, surpassing the previous record of 56 hours, 9 minutes and 37 seconds set in 2018 by Halvard Haug Flatebo and SJUR for Kingstad of Norway. Onakoya took to X, formerly known as Twitter, to announce his intention to play for longer, saying, "We're pushing to 60 hours, guys. We're not stopping yet. Let's keep going. We have a fundraising goal to meet for the education of African children around the world. This is our why, the reason we are doing this." Chess in Slums Africa, the charity Onakoya founded in 2018, aims to help educate 1 million children in slum communities across the continent.
The answer for yesterday is A, unprecedented. We are now witnessing an unprecedented increase in violent crime. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into the news of massive river flooding expected in China's Guangdong. Number 1, enact. 将制定成法律通过。The authorities have failed so far to enact a law allowing unrestricted immigration. Number 2, spike, 猛增急升. Although you'd think business would have boomed during the war, there was only a small spike in interest. Number 3, grim, 令人不快的，令人沮丧的. We face the grim prospect of still higher unemployment. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comments section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's it for today's Funday news. Be sure to tune into Funday news from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm Wadley, your host. I'll see you next time.